My wife said it's about 6:45. If you've been around Mary Wallace at any of our chamber functions, you know she is a time stickler. So I'd hate to be the cause of us being late. If everyone would please begin finding a seat. If we need to find you a seat, let me know. I think we have some more chairs available. If not, but it looks like we're going to be good. The candidates, not just the commissioners, or just if you'll remain seated here briefly, when we get through the event, we'll call you up and we'll get your name played up here and everything. We're going to start with the county. We're going to start with the property appraisers race for the county commissioners. But welcome and thank you all for attending. It's good to see each and every one of you. Most of you know that have attended one of these before. Ms. Joanne Palmer normally is up here speaking, and she does a hard job putting all this together. She hurt herself last night, so if you will keep her in your thoughts and prayers. I think she got a bad ankle, so just remember her. I really do appreciate all the work that she's done. She does a tremendous amount of work for all these events, especially this one. She even has my agenda ready for me, all typed out with everything I'm supposed to say, which most of it I'll try to get to. But thank you to Bob Ballard and WI for letting us have the event here. I always love coming here. It's such a wonderful place. I'm excited for all the things they've done and all the things they're going to do. Thank you to Mary and to Courtney for being here with me, and Tammy for keeping the time. And in the back, Chuck, couldn't do it without him. So thank you all for all the hard work that's gone into this. So now that I have all my niceties out of the way, we're going to get a little closer to getting started. If you have your agenda, what we're going to do first is we're going to do the prayer followed by the pledge. So Mr. Nick Chisler is going to lead us in the prayer real quick, and then we'll do the pledge. We'll follow that by the pledge.
All right, if you would bow your heads as we bless our time together. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come together as a community to seek your will, God. We pray your blessings over our time together. We pray your wisdom and clarity of thought be with all the candidates, Lord, and above all else, God, we ask that your will be done. We pray your continued blessings over our community as you guide us through this process, and we thank you for what you're going to do, and we pray this together. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. If you all rise, please, and I'll lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Nick, thank you for doing the invocation for us. I heard him briefly tell Courtney that he's the one you want to pray for the food. It's God bless and thank you. Amen. It's the best way it comes. All right. Are there any questions, anything we need to address first? Is there anything I can do for anybody to make you more comfortable? Everybody got a good place to sit? Everybody got something to drink? We're here for about an hour and a half or so. So get yourself comfortable, make yourself at home. A little housekeeping real quick. The back doors are the only two doors that are open. We left these two doors locked out of respect for the candidates so people aren't coming in and out right on top of them. So just out any of the two back doors will get you out of the room. The exits are very well identified. Should there be an emergency, obviously, head to the exit. They're all on sides. You can obviously push out the door, you just can't come in. So if you're trying to come in the room, come in the back. The bathrooms are on the side as well, so if you need to step out the back and use the bathroom, feel free. All right, so here we go. Mary Wallace and I tonight, we're going to go over the rules real quick. Just so that you know, we will be your moderators for the event this evening. I shouldn't stand over here, should I? It's rude. You can't see me. Tammy Barfield will be our timekeeper for the event tonight. And as outlined in the rules, I didn't print out rules for everybody, but I tried to send the rules to all the candidates in an email Tuesday evening so that you had the rules. We're going to go over them briefly. There just aren't rules out for the public. So, I gave you the rules that were sent to the candidates. Sorry, I'm reading what Joanne wrote, and she's not here to read it, so I'm winging it now. All right. With any political form, any form, please go ahead and make sure your cell phone's off. How about that piece of housekeeping? That way, there's no interruptions with the candidates. We'll be first starting with posing questions to the property appraisers, followed briefly by a break, and then posing questions to the commission candidates. A straw poll will be held to determine who answers first, and will rotate by candidate in the property appraiser's race, then by candidate in the, then by district and candidate in the commission race. I know, and what I sent out to you all may be a little unclear, and if you have a question of how it's going to work, let me know. Briefly, it's the county commissioners are going to come, they're going to pull straws, we're going to ask them questions and rotate. After that's complete, we're going to have the county commissioners come up. I said commissioners again, didn't I, for property appraiser? That's about the 4th time, you knew what I meant. Then the county commissioner's going to come up and we're going to rotate by person, by district. So we'll ask District 1 a question, whatever order you pull your straw, you'll answer the question, then we'll do District 3 and District 5, and then back. For the question and answer portion, each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer the question. Tammy Barfield has a timer up front. For this portion, you'll get a notice at 30 seconds, or 20 seconds, and then 10, and then your time is up. Please be respectful of the time. I don't like interrupting people, so don't make me do it. Let's see what else. Please keep in mind, your time's up. After the countdown of 90 seconds, just stop the comments. Mary will politely ask you not to speak anymore. Like I said, she's a time person. The questions will be repeated for the next candidate, so and I'll ask the first person will have the opportunity to respond, and the second person will have the opportunity to respond, and we'll rotate. At the conclusion of the question and answer session, the candidates will have a 1-minute closing statement. That's going to be at the conclusion of the whole event. So once the property appraiser goes, got to write that down. The county commissioners will go, and then when the county commissioners are completed, we'll have the 1-minute closing statement, which will be pulled at random one more time. We ask you that you please hold your applause or reactionary expressions until we complete the discussion of the issues between the candidates. Applause between questions will affect our ability to stay on schedule and our timeliness, which Mary will promptly correct you on. We do ask that if you have any campaign materials or any other articles that you are not wearing, please remove them from the form at this time. Are there any further questions? Is there anything I need to explain better? I think I pretty much winged it pretty good. All right. Is there anybody else I need to thank? Anybody else I need to recognize? Thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate your participation. One thing that I didn't say, all of our questions came from the public at large. We didn't create these questions. We didn't come up with the questions. So these all came from people in this room, people in this community, and people who have a vested interest in our area. So the questions will be drawn at random and asked at random. So good luck. Thank you for your participation. If there's any questions or concerns, ask now that we can get them addressed. If not, we'll go ahead and get started. Oh, one more little housekeeping thing. And I'm sure you guys know good microphone etiquette better than I do. For the candidates, when you're handing the microphone, falling back and forth, we only have 2, one for us and one for you all. Please turn it off so that you don't hear it. Everybody will appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay, tonight in our event, our candidates tonight are the candidates in the race for property appraisers. We have Brad Harvey and Steve Remke. Candidates in the race for Commission Seat District 1 are Ralph Thomas and Howard Kessler. Running in the Commission seat for District 3 are John Schuff and Mike Stewart. And running the Commission seat in District 5 are Richard Hardin and Chuck Hess. At this time, we're going to start with the property appraisers. So if Brad Harvey and Steve Remke will please come up and take their appropriate seats. Courtney is going to come up and let you draw the straw, either first or second, and that will determine the order in which you will respond tonight. Brad is number 1 and Steve is number 2.
All right, gentlemen, first question of the night. Oh, this is just a lengthy question. Sorry. Mr. Harvey, what are Florida statutes factors in determining if a property qualifies for a bona fide agricultural classification?
Statute 196 is the statute that refers to ag classification.
Mr. Rimke, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please. Please.
Yes, sir. The question reads, what are Florida statutes factors in determining if a property qualifies for a bona fide agricultural classification?
I believe you're asking for what factors there are, not necessarily just the statutory revenues. So I think probably the answer that people are wanting to hear, though, is that size is not one of the factors in an agricultural classification. That's been determined through the courts and it's determined in the statutes. So there can be very small properties that have an agricultural classification, such as a beekeeping facility or a small aquaculture site or something like that. So size is not a factor.
Thank you.
All right, question number 2 will go to Steve Rimke first. This question is, what would you bring to the property appraiser's office?
What would I bring to the property appraiser's office? I'd bring 25 years of experience as an appraiser. I have a bachelor's degree in real estate. I've been an appraiser my entire adult career. I've did eminent domain work for the Department of Transportation for a number of years, just like the projects that are going on Crawfordville Highway. I have appraised just about every type of property that you can imagine. I was the chief appraiser for the Division of State Lands for the state of Florida. I'm currently the regional appraiser of the southeastern United States for the General Services Administration. So I would bring just a variety of a background and education and experience. I've got tremendous management experience. I managed an appraisal office with 21 people in it, and I believe I could effectively manage the property appraiser's office in Wakulla County.
All right, now the question is for Brad Harvey. I'll repeat it. What would you bring to the property appraiser's office?
Well, I actually bring 25 years of working in Wakulla County. Part of that is managing small businesses, and I have managed businesses that have as many as 40 employees at one time. But also I have a background with working in the office for the last 12 years. I have a background and knowledge of all the responsibilities and duties in the office. I understand the budgeting process. I understand the special assessment process. I handle the damage assessment stuff that we do. And not everything we do is strictly on real property appraisal. A lot of what we do is well, the primary thing that we do is customer service and helping customers, helping citizens when they come in, to educate them about the process, about exemptions, classifications, what they qualify for, and helping them with other questions and concerns they have throughout the county and other departments. A lot of times when people come in, they're not quite sure who they need to be asking those questions to. And so we try to guide them instead of just sending them somewhere else. We guide them by whether it be by walking them over, calling that department for them, or just helping answer the questions the best we can.
Thank you. The third question is for you again, Mr. Harvey. The question is, what, in your opinion, is the biggest challenge currently facing the property appraiser's office, and how do you propose to deal with it?
Well, the biggest challenge that we're facing right now is that the real estate market is starting to grow. And as that grows, we're having more deeds that we're having to process. We're having more homes that we're having to do assessments on. And so with that change, we are at some point in time in the next 4 years going to have to add additional staff. A lot of our staff, we cut several positions as the market went down, trying to save budget money for the county, and those are positions that are going to have to be put back in place. And there's a lot of technology changes that are out there that are going to help us with some of that as well. And knowing what to look for and knowing how those softwares work are one of the main things.
Mr. Remke, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay. What are the biggest challenges that face the property appraiser's office?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think the market, the real estate market is the biggest challenge right now. And there's multiple things affecting the real estate market in Wakulla County. And one of the biggest things that I see affecting the real estate market right now, I met with the Board of Realtors today, a group of about 10 of them, and one of the biggest concerns they have is the flood zones and how the flood zones and changes in flood zones are impacting market values. And this is along with what Brad is saying. You know, it's just one small part of what's impacting market values in the county. And market values are changing in some areas. Some areas are stagnant still. I mean, certain things, there's certain parts of the county where land values haven't recovered yet, where lot values have not recovered because we've had such a glut of lots in some areas in the county. But overall, I think land values have recovered or property values are recovering, but there are certain parts of the county where the flood zones are deal breakers for a lot of people. And there's, when people are getting flood zone quotes or flood quotes for $20,000, $25,000 a year for flood insurance, I mean, that's often a deal breaker in a real estate deal, and that has a big impact on the market right now. And where's that going to go? It's hard to say right now. Until we start getting a bigger data set of sales to look at and to see how those trends are impacting the market, we won't really know.
All right, the next question is question number 4. It will start with Steve Remke. The question is, explain how the Save Our Homes cap is applied.
The Save Our Homes cap is applied. The Save Our Homes amendment was passed probably about in the past 10 years or so, or maybe a little bit longer than that. But Save Our Homes is the difference between, well, let me start over. The assessed value can increase on a homestead property more than 3% or the consumer price index, whichever is less. So the Save Our Homes cap keeps the assessed value from increasing and getting people kicked out of their homes, basically, because they can't pay their property taxes when the values are rising rapidly. So you could have a just value of a house that's approximately $150,000, but due to assessment limitations, due to Save Our Homes, the assessed value could be $100,000 or less. And that's the part that you pay taxes on, the assessed value less, and the exemptions is the taxable value. So you start at that assessed value.
Do you need me to repeat the question? The question is, explain how the Save Our Homes cap is applied.
Okay. Save Our Homes actually come into play in 1994. It was then revised with an additional cap in 2008, that gave us an additional $25,000 of homestead. And like Steve said, it is a situation to where your assessed value cannot go up more than 3% or the CPI, whichever is less. This year, the CPI, the change in the CPI was 0.05, so it very little change for this year. And how it applies is just like you said. You find the just value of the property. If just value goes up based off sales, the change in sales, that's what determines the just value. As those change, they could change 100%, 1,000%. Whatever sales are showing, that trend is what we have to change that market value, because it is the market value. Once that changes, though, that assessed value cannot go up on a homestead property more than 3%. It cannot go up, or the CPI, whichever is less. So at the downside of that too is, as market values have been coming down over the years, your just value can go down, but you can still see an increase in your assessed value because it goes up 3% or the CPI every year.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Harvey, this is the 5th question. It'll be yours as well. What are the key processes which must be accomplished each year to produce the tax roll?
Well, the key process is to process the roll are, one, we have to collect the sales data. Two, we have to take that data and look at it for real property and make the determination of, based off sales information, what the market value is for each type of property. And the properties are broken down by types, by commercial, vacant, residential. Once that's done, then at the same time, we're taking personal property, which is taking personal property returns, and that's the tangible personal property is taxes that are assessed on the value of equipment for businesses. And we have to take those returns, process those returns, and process the personal property roll. Then comes the special assessment rolls, which is fire and solid waste, and also we currently have 2 road paving special assessments that we have to take and apply whatever the factors are for them. For such as fire, you have a different rate that's used for vacant versus residential home versus commercial. And so depending on what kind of property that is, we have to apply those codes to them and then process the roll by sending out trim notices, sending out notices to the state and process the roll.
Thank you. Mr. Rimke, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, if you don't mind.
The question is, what are the key processes which must be accomplished each year to produce the tax roll?
Key processes to produce the tax roll. I agree with Brad that collecting the sales is a key process. I think there's one key part he left out there, and that is the verification or the qualification of those sales. When the deeds come in, is that a good sale or not? Is it a sale that can be used to estimate the market value of a property? And so that's one part of processing the sales and processing the deeds that come in. Are they good sales? After that, there's a long process that goes through, and the tax roll production process of valuing the properties and going in certain market areas and certain property types, whether it's commercial, residential. We'll just stick with residential because that's what most people know about. You're going to have a group of residential sales, and you're going to use those and check those against the mass appraisal model that's been built in the system, in the CAMA system, or the computer-assisted mass appraisal system. And you're going to check those sales and see how you're doing in the CAMA model and see if that model needs to be tweaked or not, and see if it needs to be changed, whether it be up or down. And so then that roll gets submitted to the Department of Revenue for preliminary approval. This year is an in-depth study year. The Department of Revenue is here, and they're actually going out if you have someone knocking on your door of your business, asking to measure your business. It's part of the in-depth process where they're testing the tax roll this year to see if the valuations are in order and if all the properties are on the roll.
Thank you.
Question number 6 will go to you first, Steve Remke. Explain the truth and millage process.
The truth and millage process is, we could add another 0 on the end of the time here and still not explain it all the way, but basically, truth and millage, it stands for, trim is truth and millage. The property owners have the right to know, and they have the right to be alerted and get a notice of what the tax amount, or what the assessed amount is and what the proposed taxes are. And they have the right to be alerted to the meetings of the tax authorities and attend those meetings and participate in those, because if there's a proposed tax increase or a tax decrease, they have the right to attend the meetings and voice their opinions. So the trim notice goes out with the proposed property tax rates, and then you get into a trim process though where, to make a very long story short though, what is the property, is the county or are the taxing authorities proposing a tax increase or a tax decrease? Or are they going with the rollback rate that year? And there's a long process of publishing that information and making sure it gets published correctly. But basically, the trim process, the biggest thing that you all need to know about is it's your right to know. It is your notice of what your taxes are going to be and what rate is going to be applied and what your value is. And when you get that notice, you have a certain amount of time in order to come into the office and protest the taxes, talk to the property appraiser. If you don't get relief there, you can file with the Value Adjustment Board for further relief.
Your time is up. Sorry. All right, next it goes to Brad Harvey. The question is, explain the truth in millage process.
Pretty much what Steve said. The process starts with when we certify the preliminary roll to the state. We certify it to each of the taxing authorities. At that time, they hold a meeting to set their proposed millage. Then once they've done that, they send it to us, and we have the trim notice, which is your proposed tax notice, sent out, printed up, and it has their first meeting date on it. And for the school board, it has their final meeting date. And it's a way of showing a couple things. One, it shows the prior year's taxes and millage rates breakdown. It shows what the proposed would be if there's no change in the millage, and then it shows what the current proposed is. So you have a look at that. You can see whether it's going up, going down, and you can go to those meetings. You're alerted of those meetings. At that time too, it's also the time that property owners can look at that value. If they see something that doesn't look right, see something that's concerning to them, they can come into our office, talk with the property appraiser, see if there's an error that's been made, and oftentimes there can be. If not, if they don't get what they feel like is good service, they can go before the Value Adjustment Board, which we've not had anybody go before the Value Adjustment Board in the last 5 years.
Thank you. That concludes our question and answer portion for the property appraiser's race. Now it would be a great time to applaud the performance. Thank you to both the candidates. Right now we'll take just a quick 10-minute break, let you get there's some water and cookies in the back, let you stretch your legs, catch up with some old friends.
Start the second part of tonight's forum, which will be posing questions to the commission candidates, beginning with District 1, District 3, and then District 5. If the candidates will please come up and sit in their appropriate seats as designated, then we're going to then pull straws. The straws the sticks are numbered 1 through 6. Each person just pull one and the next, and whoever has the lowest number in your district will go first, and then we will rotate accordingly. All right, in District 1. Okay, so it's indicated that Mr. Kessler has, excuse me, what number? 4. 4. And then Mr. Thomas, you are number 2.
2.
So Mr. Thomas will go first and Mr. Kessler will go second. All right. In District 3, Mr. Shuck, what is your number?
3.
And then Mr. Stewart?
1.
Mr. Stewart will go first. Mr. Shuck will be second. And in District 5, Mr. Harden, your number? And Mr. Hess?
Number 6.
Richard Harden will go first and Chuck Hess will go second. How we're going to do this process is we're going to pull one question. We'll go with District 1 first. And the second question, we're going to go to District 3. And the third question to District 5. When we come back to the fourth question, we will rotate. Who answered first the first time will now answer the second person. So I hope that's understandable. Do our candidates understand the process of answering questions? Yes, in your district, the question I posed to District 1 first, you each will answer it. Then we go to the next district, you each answer your question. And then we rotate with other questions, and it's the reverse of who answered the first time will now be first, second, the next time. Okay, we're going to start with the first question.
Okay, the first question is for Commissioner Thomas, District 1. The question is, excluding economic development, what do you think is most important for the health of our county?
I guess the most important thing would be our environment. You know, economic development is important, but we've got to keep a balance in our environment. You know, I guess it's hard to separate the two because our environment is a big part of our economic development, but a lot of people use it recreationally as well, and not just for, you know, commercial fishing or for jobs. And so it's a challenge to make sure that we're using the resources, but not taking advantage of it or abusing the resources.
Commissioner Kessler, would you like me to repeat the question? Just flip it up. Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Okay. Excluding economic development, what do you think is the most important for the health of our county?
For the health of our county.
Yes, sir.
So I'm always thinking about setting priorities. What should be the priorities that we set? What is the most important things that we should take care of? So for me, it's always the health and safety, law enforcement and health of our citizens. We have a health department that doesn't have a station physician in it. That's a very big lack in a community of 30,000 people. When you have someone in South Choppy or Smith Creek or anywhere south of Crawfordville that has an injury, you know where they're going. For the most part, they're going to have to go up to Tallahassee and stay in that emergency room for 24 hours or so. We've all experienced it. The other thing, of course, is water. Without water, we have nothing. If we don't protect our water, and I've been a big advocate of that, fighting against fracking for almost 4 years now. The Perry Pipeline, trying to put those pollutants into our Gulf, 20 miles from our shore. So protecting our water is something that we really have to pay a lot of attention to. It should be one of our priorities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a little bit of microphone etiquette. Make sure that, you know, you kind of hold it a little close so everybody can hear you. And then, of course, thank you all for turning it off as you pass it. The next question is going to be for District 3, and the first question is going to go to Mike Stewart. The question is, do you feel that the county should have an EDC department or actively work with a fund or fund economic development? I'm so sorry. I'll read it one more time. Do you feel that the county should have an EDC department or actively work with or fund economic development?
I think the question is asked, I'm trying to understand it here, that should the county government itself, I guess would be under the county administrator. I'm not sure I haven't give that a lot of thought, but first blush I would say that we certainly have got to work with economic development, and it's one of the most important things we'll do for our county is to encourage good economic developments, clean industry. You know, we have a industrial park over next to the prison that has set fallow over there for years, and you know, we need to encourage some good, strong, clean industry that won't impact our environment to come and locate there. We have to encourage economic development. So I think to whoever's asking that question, I would say to them that if it's worth doing to have an office that does that, I think it would probably be a good idea. We need to be able to get after grants and what have you to help relocate businesses here. I want to see us do whatever we can to encourage small business and big business, and we need to continue to do that as we go down this road.
All right, next to John Shuff, do you feel that the county should have an EDC department or actively work with or fund economic development?
Well, excuse me, I think that over the last 4 years, we've been trying to lay the foundation for a economic development recovery, if you will. But I do think that our attitude has been, and because there is nobody, trying to carry that ball a couple extra yards every play, we have had a tendency to expect it to happen or not be as proactive as we should. Economic development is extremely important to our community. Economic development expands our tax base and helps keep a lid on our taxes going up. I go to economic development conferences. In fact, I just came back from one last month. And we were one of the only counties in the state of Florida. I say there probably wasn't more than 5 counties in the whole state that did not have somebody on the payroll that was there representing their county for economic development. So I think we're a little bit behind the ball on that issue. We do need to have somebody that is pushing that forward, because ultimately, again, the reason that everybody does it is to try and hold. You got 2 ways you can raise you can raise additional revenue. You can raise taxes on your citizens, or you can expand your economic base, and that's why everybody pushes for economic development. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will be for District 5. Commissioner Hart will answer the first question. And that question is as follows. Commissioner Hart, what would be your position in issuing levies and taxes as they would pertain to smart growth projects and sustainable development should they arise?
I support sustainable development in our county, but I'm also worried about issuing new levies and new taxes. I have held a position of being against impact fees, and the reason that I'm against issuing new levies and new taxes is a lot of times that ends up being a deterrent for people to want to do it to begin with. I'm for sustainable development projects. I'm for that, but I'm cautious about introducing new levies and new taxes against industries and growth that want to invest into our community, because my experience is that that's been a deterrent and not a help.
Thank you. Mr. Hess, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes.
Mr. Hess, what would be your position in issuing levies and taxes as they would pertain to smart growth projects and sustainable development should they arise?
Well, I'm not sure that we need new taxes, but there are ways to fund smart growth projects, and we need to be exploring those. I mean, we need to develop our downtown. We need to build the infrastructure to support growth and support what's happening in the county and how we move forward. And while it will do economic development, it will encourage development, but we can do it without big expenses, and we can do it with smart expenses. Thank you.
All right, in this round, the next question for District 1 is going to go to Howard Kessler. What is your experience in managing a budget of this size?
Assuming it's the size of the county.
Yeah, the county's budget, I'm sorry. We took these straight from the public, so I apologize. So, in retrospect to being a commissioner in the county budget, what is your experience in managing a budget of that size?
I was elected commissioner in 2002. So other than a small break of 2 years, I've been on the commission finishing up my 3rd term. So that's a little bit of budget dealings. The size of the budget is something that we all have to realize can fluctuate. And it did when we had the boom, and it did when we had the bust. And that goes back to setting priorities of what we think is important with how we fund the most important things. And not to get carried away and keep on spending as if you were still in the boom when you're actually in a bust. And that's what happened to this county. We spent down our reserves, we got ourselves into a pickle, and now we have to be thankful that we're out of that right now. And we can think about throttling back some of the taxes that were put on the citizens who shouldered that burden of getting us out of that pickle. Thank you.
Do you need me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. I've been on the board since 2012, so we've had 4 budgets come before us. I have voted for 3 out of those 4 budgets. The one budget that I voted against had a tax increase in it. I promised the people when I ran in 2012 that we would operate on the money that we have, just like you have to do at home. When things get tight, you're not able to just take money from your neighbors and pull yourself out of the hole. And so that was very important to me to honor that promise, so I did vote against that one budget. But we have adopted a balanced budget every single year. Before I got elected, we were, the reserves had been almost depleted. The threat was the state was going to come in and take over. We were on the heels of an economic downturn, and I think this past year is the first year that we've seen an increase in property values, an increase in ad valorem revenue, so we've had to be very smart and wise in those decisions. We've managed to do that without major tax increases, just that one small one that happened last year. And we've managed to rebuild those reserves and put ourselves back in sound financial shape. The important thing, the size of the budget is not the issue. It's just how we spend the people's money. We have to make sure that we're not taking more from the people than they could bear, and we have to figure out what's important, and we have to allocate that money properly.
Thank you. The next set of questions will go to District 3. Mr. Shelf, this first question is yours. It's got 3 folds in it, so it's a long one. Mr. Shelf, with a future increase in population from new businesses and residents, Wakulla County first responders, such as deputies, fire, EMS, and county offices, such as road and bridges, courts, etc., will require an increase in their financial support before the incoming revenue from growth. As a county commissioner, what is your plan to keep Wakulla County residents safe and still provide assets expected from the county until revenues catch up?
Well, I think that you're going to see a fairly major review of our sheriff's budget with the new sheriff that we have coming in. I've had several discussions with him about that, and if elected, I would look forward to being involved in that process. One of the things that I've been interested in and have mentioned my desire to work on is to, because the fire and EMS situation has been building for more than just the last year or two. It's been building for a number of years, and we've been losing our volunteer firefighters over those years. So more needs and less ability to respond. But I can't believe that, I've heard some people say we've had a complete culture change in the last 8 or 10 years, and I'm not ready to fully buy into that. I would like to have an opportunity, and I think it's the benefit of the whole county, to have one more opportunity at trying rebuilding our volunteer firefighting and some EMS force, because that's going to take a lot of the needs for additional revenue if we can be successful with doing that. Right now we have a fire MSBU on our taxes of what, $75 or $85 or something like that. And if we went to an all-professional force, we'd be looking at a $300 to $400 bill. And I just don't think that's going to be something our citizens want to look at until we've explored all the options.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart, would you like me to repeat the question?
I'm fine, thank you. I think all this goes back to a couple of the other questions that have been asked, and number one being economic development. We have to encourage smart growth. It's sort of a two-edged sword. When you have growth and we're a bedroom community to Tallahassee. whether we like it or not, that's a fact, and most of our people have to commute to Tallahassee, but at the end of the day, you guys expect us to provide services, and that's the number one. I've always said that the number one priority of the county commission needs to be the safety of our citizens. And with that said, we have to make sure that our first responders, our sheriff's department, ambulance, fire, EMS, they have to be looked after. We have got to do a better job of how we take care of them. I went up the other day and met with the firemen in the terrible building they're in, and honestly, I was ashamed to think that our people had to stay overnight in that facility. We can do much better, and we need to do better. We need to start re-looking at where we have firehouses in our county. We need to look at where the biggest growth is occurring and build new stations. We've got to do a lot of new things to do better at taking care of public safety.
Thank you.
All right, the next is to District 5, and the first question will go to Chuck Hess. What issues do you think need to be addressed with regards to sustainability in our environment, and how will you work with the other commissioners to come up with an answer to this serious issue?
Issues about sustainability of our environment. Our biggest environmental issue for the people of Wakulla County is our water and what we're doing with our water. We have, we've started with the advanced wastewater treatment at our facility down in Otter Creek, but we have to expand that. We have to move out and get more water sewage treatment facilities spread across the county, because we're losing one of our economic engines as Wakulla Springs gets greener and greener. That's one of our economic engines. So it's really important. We take all the septic tanks that are in the county and try to move them to other types of treatment systems. Maybe a second sewage treatment plant in the other side of the county is a real possibility to improve our water system and our environment and our sustainability in our environment. We need to also recognize that there's things we can do to enhance economic activity through our water. We have one of the few places in the country that has diveable springs. We need to be marketing that to our community and to the world. And I would like to move forward on that. Thank you.
Would you like for me to repeat the question? Okay.
I'm going to agree with Chuck that the water is very important, but what I want to let everyone know is we have a lot of plans in place right now. We're already addressing that issue right now with grant money that we've received. Our wastewater treatment facility in Otter Creek, we've received over $10 million that is being used to upgrade that system and double the capacity of that system. We also have money that we've received that's going to allow us to provide, that's going to allow us to take over 700 homes in Wakulla Gardens and Magnolia Gardens that are presently on septic tank and remove them off septic tank, expand the sewer system into the area and place them on sewer. Those are things that we're already doing right now. Those are in the works. They're going to be done within a couple of years. We still require homes within the Springs Protection Zone north of Wakulla Springs to all have the performance-based septic tank system. We're making plans in a way to where if someone is going to be serviced with sewer in their area in the near future, that they only have to put in a regular septic tank versus a performance septic tank. That way, whenever that septic tank is collapsed within a year or two, that homeowner will have saved several $1,000s versus having to put in a performance-based septic tank. We're actively working on that issue right now, and I'm very glad for the advances that we have made.
Thank you. We now go back to District 1. The first question will go to Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Thomas, how do you balance your support of needing and wanting more jobs with continuing to protect our environment?
Seems like that's the common theme for District 1, huh? Well, it's easy. I grew up here. This is my home. When I was a kid, we would stay out all day, and we didn't have bottled water. We drank out of the creeks, we drank out of the rivers, never got sick, never thought twice about it. And so it's important for us to make sure that we do everything we can to return to that. We need jobs, we certainly need jobs, and we need to have jobs where our children, when they get out of high school, they have the opportunity to stay here. My dad left in the 60s looking for work. I left in the 80s when I graduated high school and joined the military. And they're just, today, the trend is still the same. People leave here, and we hope they come back at some point. And so, you know, I think we can have clean growth. I think we can have homes, even homes on the water. We still have approximately 73% of our county is protected by state and national ownership, and will never be built. And so I think we have a natural buffer there. I think we need to continue to try to get the nitrogen out of our springs. That's probably the #1 problem that we have in our fresh water right now. And that's a function of septic tanks. We don't have a lot of agriculture here anymore. And so we need to continue working toward that. I brought a resolution to the board last year for us to encourage the state to use funds to take more septic tanks out of the system. I see I'm out of time.
Thank you. Commissioner Kessler, would you like to repeat the question?
Yes.
How would you balance your support of needing and wanting more jobs with continuing to protect our environment?
Thank you. So, there is no going back. We can make things better, but we can't go back to the baseline. That baseline is moving. And what I mean by that is that we as people impact our environment. The more people, the more impact. Technology can help us, but there's an impact of people. And we have to do the best job we can to make sure the jobs that we bring into our county are jobs that do not adversely affect our environment. I was early on a proponent of the pedestrian bike path that is now growing throughout this county. It was proposed originally as Capital City to the Sea Loop. I don't know what the technical name is now, but that will be an economic engine of this county. It will bring jobs, clean jobs, to our county. Many people coming into our county, utilizing that type of system, and then leaving our county and not having to make more of a footprint here in our county. So it's the type of jobs we bring in to lessen the impact on our environment is very important. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next set goes to District 3. The first one will be for Mike Stewart. Over the next 10 years, Wakulla County is going to grow. We already have a record amount of residential and commercial building permits approved, record amount of commercial land for sale along the 319 corridor, and the first phase of 319 construction is approaching completion. As County Commissioner, how are you going to approach planning for the county over your term in office and beyond to assist those interested in establishing a business in the county, such as tax breaks, waive temporarily certain construction restrictions, etc., to have quality jobs for local residents? We must not just give franchises, but also quality career forming businesses. How are you going to attract these businesses and still maintain Wakulla's environment? My time is up. You're right, that was a very long question.
I don't want to get 2 reads on that.
Yes.
I'm sure that was a question or a statement, but I understand it.
Okay.
And I think it goes back to what I was talking about a while ago about the two-edged sword. People want to be here. We have everything that people want. On any given weekend, our population quadruples. Just go out and try to get on 319. If they want to come to our rivers, they want to come to Wakulla Springs, they want to use our beaches, they want to be here. We have a beautiful, beautiful county. I grew up here, and I want to see it survive in some state that we all can enjoy. We're still the 5th or 6th fastest growing county in the state, and will continue to be because people want to be here. We have the best schools in the state, and all that attracts people here. So I think I definitely want to encourage business. I want to see us be able to write off taxes for a number of years for these businesses. And I know some of you probably will say, oh my God. But hear me out. If we do that and we get them here and we start jobs, and the taxes stay here then, those jobs create other jobs, and they spend their money here. Every time we spend our dollar here, 7 cents of that sales tax stays in Wakulla County. Every time I go to Leon County and I spend $1, I'm leaving 7.5 cents up there. I want to spend my money here. I want the people who live here to be able to come and function here and have doctors and lawyers and stores and do all the stuff that they need to do in Wakulla County. So I want to encourage business, both small and big, to come and find a home in Wakulla County. And yes, like Ralph said, and my time's up.
Thank
So
you.
I'll stop.
Yes, thank you. Now, I hope you don't need me to repeat that question. You do? Oh my goodness. Okay. Over the next 10 years, Wakulla County is going to grow. We already have a record amount of residential and commercial building permits approved, a record amount of commercial land for sale along the 319 corridor, and the first phase of 319 construction is approaching completion. As County Commissioner, how are you going to approach planning for the county over your term in office and beyond to assist those interested in establishing a business in the county, such as tax breaks and waive temporarily certain construction restrictions, etc.? To have quality jobs for local residents, we must not just have franchises, but also quality career-forming businesses. How are you going to attract these businesses and still maintain Wakulla's environment?
Well, one thing we've been working in our Economic Development Council on is, as Mike mentioned earlier, Opportunity Park over in the northeast side of the county. That's where we're going to be able to create some of those career-type jobs that are going to pay more than a franchise hamburger joint. And it is certainly something that we're pressing forward on. Even having discussions as recent as last week with the owners of that place. But some of the most important things that I've been learning from some of these conferences we go to, that tax breaks are important, but what is even more important to a lot of entities, and I think it is the certainty of the permit process. How much is going to go before the public? Is the growth management department set up so that they've got clear guidelines to, as long as you fill the bill and check all the boxes, that you're going to get approved? Or are you going to get drugged through the coals through a lot of public hearings that's going to maybe stretch out your process to longer than you would expect it to? So working on fees is important, but speed and certainty of permitting is even more important. And looks like my time's about to wind down here. But I don't agree with breaks in construction restrictions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next question goes to District 5. Commissioner Harden will answer the first question. This one isn't quite as lengthy, but lengthy in its own right. The question is, due to the changes in the National Flood Insurance Program and the Biggers Water Act that have caused more stringent regulations for Wakulla citizens, what recommendations would you recommend to the Army Corps of Engineers to help ease Wakulla building regulations for its citizens?
Well, one thing about that is those are rules that were imposed upon our county that really were beyond our control. They didn't even really consider a whole lot of input from our county. Our county fought it as much as we could. We fought it right on to the point that where we didn't have any other any other option. You know, we have to abide by it. If I could advise anything to the Corps of Engineers, I would advise them to take another look at the model that they used to come up with that system. I think the model that they used was more extreme than anything that we're going to experience. And if I could advise them anything, I would ask them to relook at it. The only other option the county had, the county did have an option to like opt out of the program, but that's really not an option, because if the county was to opt out of the program, then no one would write an insurance policy on anything in the county, and so nobody would be able to get a loan on anything. So really, opting out is not an option. So we have to abide by the rules, but hopefully at some point the Army Corps of Engineers or FEMA or someone will take another look at the seriousness of the model that they used, and I think it was overbearing and it placed unfair restrictions upon all of us.
Thank you. Mr. Hess, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Hess, due to the changes in the National Flood Insurance Program and the Biggers Water Act that have caused more stringent regulations for Wakulla citizens, what recommendations would you recommend to the Army Corps of Engineers to ease Wakulla building regulations for its citizens?
Well, I don't think easing Wakulla building regulations is the right choice. What it really is the right choice is there's a system in the flood insurance called the Community Response System, where you can get up to a 45% discount on the insurance premiums that are charged in the county. And we haven't addressed that as a county. Right now, we're at a 15% discount because of what the activities we do. But we have a chance. All we need is like 600 points, and we can have a 15 or 20% more discount on our flood insurance premiums as we move forward. And we need to be looking at this whole community response system and seeing where we can change our regulations and change our activities such that we can reduce our flood insurance premiums on the county.
Thank you. It's not in our agenda program, but we're going to take just a quick break. Mary said her throat is parched after that long question. So let's just take 5 minutes. Let's try to be back in here at 8:02 or 3 or so. Just grab some water. I need to grab another water too. And I know Mary's throat's parched, so we'll reconvene here in about 5 minutes. Like they do in the presidential forums.
All right, we're going to go back to District 1, and this next question is going to be for Howard Kessler first. And it's not a long one. All right, what do you see as the most pressing needs for infrastructure or capital projects in the county?
We are already addressing the sewer, at least in part, with the upgrade of our sewer plant and the grant monies we've gotten to address some of our historic neighborhoods. For me, addressing the infrastructure of our EMS fire rescue is paramount. Addressing the issues of our law enforcement to make sure that both fire rescue, law enforcement are receiving a wage that is appropriate for their jobs that they're doing. Getting a physician into our health department should be a priority for this county. Having a population of over 30,000 people, we deserve to have a properly staffed health department. And we do have the opportunity to address some of these things now with the BP money that is coming to the county. We have an opportunity to do a lot of improvements on infrastructure, and that's where our priority should be. Rather than fiddle it away on little projects here and little projects there. Infrastructure of the key issues should be our major emphasis. Thank you.
Do You need me to repeat it?
We're in the middle right now of upgrading our wastewater treatment plant to advanced wastewater treatment standards. And so I think we're in good shape there. That doubles our capacity. We recently built an annex to our sheriff's department that gives us additional room there. We have in our plan currently, our infrastructure plan, to build a new firehouse. That's probably our biggest pressing need at this point. We have fire trucks that cost us $300,000, $400,000 and they're sitting out in the rain. And we need to make sure that we get those in the proper facility. We need to make sure that we have a proper berthing compartment for our firemen when they're overnight, when they're on duty. And we actually have a plan for that already. It's in our 1 cent sales tax. In November, the citizens are going to be asked whether or not you choose to reissue the 1 cent sales tax. That's 1 penny out of every dollar that you spend, but probably a third of that comes from people that are passing through our county that spend their money here. And we've got that in our plan already to build that firehouse. That's been very difficult to build at this point. It's a very expensive undertaking, but it is in that plan. And so I think I'm hopeful that tax will be renewed, and that's a tax the citizens get to choose. None of that money goes toward operational, toward salaries, but it'll buy fire trucks, it'll buy ambulances, it'll build that firehouse, it'll buy sheriff's vehicles.
Thank you. The next question is for District 3, Mr. Shelf. Mr. Shelf, your question is, what is your knowledge of infrastructure problems with older subdivisions, and what are your ideas for solutions to those problems?
We have to be talking about our historic subdivisions here. We've got a lot of problems in our historic subdivisions. A lot of people don't understand, but they started back in the 1940s. Lots were sold at the World's Fair. It was kind of a scam from the beginning, and we're still suffering with it. We've been all the roads out there are owned by Wakulla County, so all the development problems have sort of been foisted on us here, and we need to figure out a way to solve the problem. We've had a great opportunity here with the $10.4 million sewer grant that we've gotten from the Amendment 1 money, which will take a lot of the area north of Wakulla Lower Bridge Road, Martin Luther King Drive, off of septic tanks and onto sewer. And then we're talking about putting in paving after that with penny sales tax money, which is a good thing. Wakulla Gardens has not had much penny sales tax money spent out there, so they're due some of that money. We also have huge problems out with stormwater. When we put in all that paving out there, it's going to be a huge amount of more runoff. And I don't think we're looking at that closely enough, and I see that as our biggest problem out there in historic subdivisions. And then coming up with a future plan, our problems now is with 1,000 lots. There's 3,500 lots in Wakulla Gardens, so we can just double that problem again. So we need to come up with a plan for long term.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart, would you like me to repeat the question?
I'm fine, thank you. I agree with John. The Wakulla Gardens and Grinders addition is a mess. It has been since the 50s. And as it has grown, we have tried our best to find legislative funding over the years to address the problems there, to no avail. Finally, the county has fallen into this pot of money that's going to be able to help put sewer, water, and then begin to pave the roads. The problem with this is it's going to be a tremendous growth burst in that community. 50 by 100 foot lots, folks. 50 by 100 foot lots. You can spit over on your neighbor's yard from your front porch. That's terrible. Now, back in the day, I asked for a moratorium once for growth in Wakulla Gardens and was told we couldn't do it legally, that we'd be sued out of the county. So that's not, we're going to have to deal with it. And as that sewer goes in, growth is going to explode. We're going to have to put all that storm water somewhere. And it's not going to be in those lots that are within that subdivision. We're going to have to start exploring having to off-site pump that water somewhere else and store it and let it percolate. So there's a lot of issues ahead that we got to deal with past just getting the sewer and roads paved.
Thank you.
All right, the next question is for District 5. It will be Chuck Hess first. If new resources were available, what one area of the county services would you feel most needs additional resources?
What one area of the county services? That's pretty simple, our fire system. We don't have a permanent fire structure. We don't have and right now they're planning to put it on the current site on Price Lane. And might not be the best place to do it, because there's this whole system for designing where your best place to put a fire station is. And it's gotta be, where the people are, because you want to get it to the people as quickly as possible. And there's, the fire agencies have developed a GIS-driven system that gives you the best locations for your fire stations. And we need to be looking at that and looking where we put our fire stations and building a fire stations to optimize our response times across our community.
Do you need me to repeat the question?
I'm going to agree with Chuck in part. I think that public safety is very important. I mean, if your community is not safe, you have to be safe first. And I think if we had a lot of resources that suddenly came available, our fire and EMS system and our law enforcement and all aspects of our public safety would need to be addressed and analyzed, and make sure that we have the adequate facilities that we need. It's very important whenever someone has an emergency and they call 911 and they activate the EMS system. It's very important that they know that we're going to have the best equipment come to them, the best trained personnel come to them, that's going to be coming to them in a timely manner. And we need to have everything. We need to be able to give our fire and EMS personnel everything they need to adequately keep our community safe, and that costs a lot of money. So if we had the resources, I would say that fire and EMS would be our top priority for the public safety.
Thank you. All right, we'll go back to District 1. Commissioner Thomas, first question is yours. And your question is, many citizens may be unaware of how important and valuable the property appraiser's position is. I think this question got put in the wrong box. Are you running for property appraiser by chance? Have you changed your mind yet? Yeah. Let me choose you another one. Unless you would like to run for property appraiser. Your replacement question is, what is the biggest change that you believe commissioners will need to tackle in the next 2 years? How would you approach handling it?
Single biggest change is the influx of money that we're likely to receive from BP. We're going to receive upwards of $24 million from BP. And we're fortunate that oil never reached our shores, but we managed, thanks to the efforts of some folks that predated my time on the board, we managed to get included in the 8 disproportionately affected counties from Escambia County to Wakulla. We're the furthest eastern county in that group. So we're going to get a lion's share of that money. We're looking at about $13 million there. Plus, I've also served for the past 4 years on the Gulf Consortium, which is a consortium of the 23 Gulf Coast counties. And we've joined together to formulate the state's multi-year implementation plan on how that money is going to be split up. So you can imagine we've had to fight with Escambia County, Monroe County, Hillsborough County. So when Little Wakulla County is at that table, it's easy to be left with scraps if we're not careful. But I've been there as well as me, and alternating with the county administrator. So as that money comes in, it's going to be important for us to not only spend it properly, but we're also going to try to parlay that money into a 3-to-1 return, where we can use that money to leverage against grants and triple the amount of money that we receive if we're smart with that. So we have to spend that wisely, but we also have to be accountable to it. It's coming from the federal government, so if we're not, we're at risk of having to pay that back.
Thank you. Commissioner Kessler, would you like to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
What is the biggest challenge that you believe commissioners will need to tackle in the next 2 years? How would you approach handling it?
The commissioners have to start setting priorities. They have to approach things by making a priority list and saying what is the most important to the least important before they start taking action. And until the Board of County Commissioners starts doing that, we run the risk of repeating the same mistakes that we've run into, where we use money and we don't have it there for other projects that come along that are very important. So prioritization is very important. The BP money, of course, is a huge chunk of money, and we have consultants that are helping to make sure that we go down that path, and the projects that we will submit will be projects that will be of value. And again, setting priorities by the County Commission. Infrastructure, for me, is the key, should be a priority on things. I was one of the commissioners that voted for the $5 increase in MSBU, and I'm proud of that. We need infrastructure improvements for our fire rescue. That has to be a priority. The physical structures that they're living in right now are deplorable and should be changed. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is going to go to District 3, Mike Stewart. What can you do to make Wakulla County a more welcoming and business-friendly environment so that more and better businesses are willing to locate themselves here?
I think we've beat this one to death, but I'll try again. It's back to economic development and you know, back to that original question, do we need a paid member? And more I've thought about it, you know, probably it's a good idea. At least our EDC committee needs to, you know, we have a lot of committees that do things, but we don't always take action. And we need to do a better job of supporting those committees, and the EDC is one of them, and listen to what they're saying to us and put it out in the forefront, let the public know what we're trying to do and work that in that direction. How to make it look better? You know, we need to start building our county east and west. I'm tired of the strip malls that are up and down the county line. I mean, the 319, that needs to change. We need to start building our county out east and west. We need to look at a town plan that makes us have a walkable community where we can go from one place to the other one, park in one place and be able to do all your shopping, and have sidewalks and street lights, and a place that we can be proud of, other than strip malls up and down 319 with a lot of signage out in front. We need to do a better job with our sign committee and get rid of some of these big billboards and ugly signs, one of which I have up with my ugly face on it. I promise it'll go away the day after election. You know, we need to work hard at that.
Thank you. Do you need to repeat the question? Next question is for John Shuff. Okay. All right. Okay, you ready? What can you do to make Wakulla County a more welcoming and business-friendly environment so that more and better businesses are willing to locate themselves here?
Well, allows us to talk about infrastructure a little bit more, because it's hard to get all your thoughts in a minute and a half. One of the things that I would like to see us explore, we've talked about BP money and other things, and we're you know, one of the big impacts we're going to have through Crawfordville in the next couple of years is Highway 319, that's going to reshape, you know, the way we know Crawfordville. But to start thinking about a regional stormwater facility where we don't have a business and a stormwater pond, a business and another stormwater pond, but we're able to, you know, and that's what's going to make us, you know, create a walkable community where people are going to go from shop to shop. So I think that would be helpful. And back to the certainty of permitting, you know, have gatekeepers, not people that put up hurdles when we're going through the permit office. expedite, things that we want to do. And I agree with having things, good, sound, administrative rules for our planning staff so that they can, when a business gets all the boxes checked, they get a permit and get it quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. The next set of questions will go to District 5. Commissioner Harden will answer the first question. Your question is, what have you done to promote economic development in the county?
Seems like a lot of these keep coming back to economic development. Well, I have voted every time that has come before us, new businesses that wanted to locate in our county, I have voted in favor of it. And I think one of the biggest things that I'm still stressing for that I think is very important is that we market our county and market ourselves out to surrounding areas. We have a lot to offer businesses that would want to. We have a lot to offer businesses that would want to locate here to our county, but if they're somewhere else trying to research us, we don't presently have the website or anything that we need to let them know that we want their business here. But I've been working with, I've worked with the EDC, I've worked with the chamber for small businesses, and I've got a record for that.
Thank you. Mr. Hess, would you like me to repeat the question?
I think I can. Well, I haven't been on the board, so I haven't done anything per se except speak out on what I think is important. And what I think is important is build us a walkable downtown. Build us an area where the businesses all be in one area, and the synergistic effect of all these businesses working together and having, instead of having to drive 2 miles up the road to go to the next business, you just walk to the next door. Okay, and that's what we need for Wakulla County. We have a great place to do this. We have our downtown. We have our Azalea and Hudson Park, and we can build around those two parks and build us a walkable downtown. What we need to do is we need to do some economic development and economic incentives in this area by putting in the infrastructure to allow the businesses to move in there at minimal cost. That's how you encourage them to move downtown. Otherwise, they're going to want to move on to 319 because that's their best access point. But if we can put parking, stormwater control, and handle those infrastructure needs for these businesses, all of a sudden it becomes cheaper and more effective for them to move around the parks and give us an east-west community instead of a north-south community. And that's what enhances all phases of Wakulla County economic development.
Okay, this is our sixth set of questions, which is our last round of questions. And so the last question in this round for District 1 is going to go to Howard Kessler. Do you plan to promote any changes to the existing taxes, and if so, why?
So the answer to that question is yes. I am a very big advocate for getting rid of the tax on the water and electricity. That's a tax that was put in about 4 years ago. It was put in when the county had spent down its reserves, and now that the county has reestablished those reserves. And by the way, millions of between new taxes, higher taxes, and fees, there were millions of dollars placed on the citizens of this county. This is something I've brought before the board multiple times, at least a dozen times in the last 4 years, to at least start reducing, backing off the utility tax. It's an essential tax that affects not only the citizens of this county, but the businesses of this county. It may not totally affect some place like a Walmart that can tolerate things like that. But if you go to Sop Choppy and you go to their IGA, that's a big impact. Those coolers and things that are needed to man that IGA. So it's a tax that needs to go. Thank you.
Do you need me to repeat it?
No, thank you. Yes, the answer is yes. I do plan to try to further reduce the ad valorem tax. We just reduced it from 8.5 mils to 8.25 mils. I believe the public service tax and the communication service tax is a use-based tax. If someone has a large home and they consume large amounts of electricity, they pay more. If someone has a small home and they pay less. And also it's a tax that allows you to conserve how much you use and how much you pay your taxes. The ad valorem tax is our primary tax source, but it's probably the most unfair tax that we have. Some folks will move into a brand new neighborhood this week, and they're paying more in property tax than their neighbors are because their neighbors bought their home earlier. Property appraisers mentioned earlier that you're limited to the 3% cap or the CPI. So there are folks that are living right next door with the exact same size home, same age home, and there may be $1,000, $2,000 disparity between the amount they're paying in taxes. Yet they use the same services. When they call 911, the public service will show up just as fast at either house. And so it's a huge disparity there. And so I believe that we need to try to do everything we can to encourage growth and encourage jobs, have more people share that tax burden, and allow us to have a decrease in ad valorem tax on our homes.
Next up is District 5, or District 3 rather, sorry. My apologies. The question will go to Mr. Schuff, unless you would like it to go to District 5.
Depends on the question.
Coming right up. Mr. Schuff, do you support the 1-cent sales tax? If so, why? If not, why?
I do support the 1 cent, the penny sales tax, as I call it. It is how we buy all of our firefighting equipment. That's how we buy our EMS ambulances. It's how we fund this new fire station that was just being talked about. It's anything that we can, for capital expenses, a portion of it goes to Parks and Recreation. Our commissioners just raised that percentage from 5% to 10%, and the parks of the athletic parks are already starting to see a difference. So yes, and as was also mentioned earlier, about 1/3 of it is paid by citizens from outside our county. So it's, I'm fully in favor of it. Thank you.
Would you like to repeat the question?
I'm okay. Absolutely. In fact, I went to a couple county commission meetings and stood up and said that other than electing our president and voting for me, this is the most important thing you'll do on the ballot. And that was a joke, but anyway, I'll say it again. But anyway, is the 1 cent sales tax. It's the most important thing in our county, folks. You need to consider, please, to reinstate that 1 cent sales tax. It will devastate us if we don't have it. We will see our ad valorem taxes have to go back probably to the 10 mil cap and still won't meet the needs that the 1 cent sales tax does for us. Right now it generates about $1.6 million a year, and we're able to do a lot of good with that money. I know from experience, and I know in the future it'll be used wisely. And we have a committee. I'm back to those committees again. There's a 1 cent sales tax committee who has been underutilized, and they need to be revitalized and listen to what they say, take public input about what you want those percentages to go to, because the county commission can vote to change those percentages at their whim. And so we need to do that wisely. We need to spend it wisely. And I don't think anybody, like John said, about 1/3 of it's paid from outsiders, and that's a good thing. So I absolutely support it.
All right, this is our final question for the evening. District 5, it will start with Chuck Hess. What is your vision for Wakulla County?
Oh, I like that question. So, you know, we live in probably the most pristine area of Florida. We have spectacular public lands. We have wonderful coastlines. We have a great river. And we have to appreciate that. But what we need to do is we don't have a community. We don't have downtowns. We have strip malls. We have a linear city running through the middle of us. And really what I want to see is, and my vision for the county is to try to take our major communities, South Choppy, Panacea, St. Mark's, and Crawfordville, and try to encourage development that builds us walkable communities in these areas. I mean, we all see this parade of cars going to the coast on the weekends. A lot of those people are going to Apalachicola because of their walkable downtown and the really nice restaurants they have. They're driving right through us to go to those locations. If we can build that in Wakulla County, in one of those 4 centers, we have a chance to interrupt that flow of traffic and put it in helping the coffers and helping Wakulla County. And that's got to be our focus, and that's got to be our vision for the county. Thank you.
Okay, one thing that I'm very grateful for is I'm grateful that so much of our county is in state lands and government lands. That means that generations to come, that there's a good portion of our county that's still going to be protected, and national resources are still going to be protected for future generations. But the part that we have left, that's the part that we have to live in and to work in. And to think, my vision that I would hope that we could do is work on, especially that area in the northeastern part of the county called Opportunity Park, trying to get major employers to come here, to where people, whenever they live here, and their children, whenever they graduate high school, they can stay here, and there can be jobs here within our county that can help them live here with a livable wage. And something else that I would also, that we haven't really touched on much, and I would like to see is I would like to see our recreation continue to be improved. You know, we have some good parks, but especially like a Meadowlark Rec Park, we have plans to also build a whole new park on 200 acres that the county is doing a land swap for in the northeast of the county. That's an area that I think is very important, that we can focus on our recreation, and that's just my vision for the future.
All right. Thank you, candidates. Let's all give them a big round of applause. Thank you. That concludes the question and answer portion of tonight's forum. We're going to reconvene, get the straws back out, and we're going to pull straws to the order in which we will give a 1-minute closing statement. So, property appraisers, front and center. You stick that in your potato, I think. You can just stay where you're at, Mr. Shelf. Number 1, raise your hand. Commissioner Harvey. 2. Mr. Stewart. 3, Mr. Rimke. 4, Mr. Hess. 5, Mr. Harvey. 6, Commissioner Kessler. 7, Mr. Schuff. Last, Commissioner Thomas. Never least. All right, Mr. Harder, you ready? The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, first off, I'd just like to thank everybody for taking time to come here tonight and to listen to us. And like I've told some others in the past, I've been on the county commission for the last 4 years. I was on the South Choppy City Commission for the last 7 years. So I've spent the last 11 years being elected. And one thing that I'm proud of is I have done it with my whole heart. I haven't always made decisions that people fully agree with, but one thing is I've made decisions, and I've stuck by the decisions that I've made. I can recount any decision I've made. I can give the facts behind that decision, the research that I did to come to that conclusion. But I I love being a public servant. I love serving those in my community, and I have a passion for people, and I think it's very important that those who are elected hold on to that passion, that sometimes when people are elected so long that they lose that passion. But I just want you to know that I love being a county commissioner, and I would like your vote on November 8th to continue to serve our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hart. Mr. Stewart?
Wakulla County is facing tremendous change over the next few years. With widening of 319, decisions will be made that will affect generations to come. I have a proven record of sound, sensible leadership. I have no hidden agenda, no favors I must return, only the interest of the people at heart. I want to be your servant, your voice on the county commission. To quote a famous movie, if we build it, they will come. Bottom line is, as we strengthen our infrastructure, people will come. I want to see that happen. If you vote for me, I can hit the ground running. There is no learning curve for me. I humbly ask for your vote on November 8th.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Mr. Remke?
Okay, thank you all for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor. This whole election has been an honor, and it's been awesome. One thing I want to say though, I'm a professional appraiser and a professional manager. I've got extensive experience in both. But it's not just about experience, it's about public trust. I recently received my security clearance, my federal public trust high security clearance. And they did extensive background checks on me, and they found nothing. And when they interviewed my old neighbors from 10 years ago. So I think that's important, and public trust is important in this job. And as your next property appraiser, I pledge to spend your money wisely and ethically, and to act in a transparent manner with integrity and professionalism in everything that I do in that office. And I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Hess?
Thank you. Well, you know, I've been a long time speaker at our local county commission meetings. I've been regularly giving my opinions about things we're doing right and things we're doing wrong. And I've also been active in the community, been on several boards. I've got, you know, a long experience with the different activities of the county. And what I want to do, you know, with my education and background, I want to bring that to Wakulla County. My goal as commissioner is to preserve the good of Wakulla County while making it livable for today and tomorrow. By enacting policies that encourage development with a sense of community. And, you know, I feel that I'm the best candidate to guide the county into the future. I can be your independent voice, speaking for the community as we move forward. And I would like to give your vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hess. Mr. Harvey?
I thank y'all all for coming tonight, and it has been a humbling experience to go through this process. One of the things that I would like to point out is that, you know, I've worked in the property appraiser's office for the last 12 years. I've worked in all facets of it, from the field appraisal to working up front, doing customer service, deed work, to handling the finances and budget for the last 11 years. And one thing about that office is it is a very customer-oriented office. It is, to me, I believe it's the most customer-friendly office in the county. One of the things that we do is, and the goal that we've had set for the last 12 years, is to put the people first. We have a very transparent office. Anytime anybody has a question, they're welcome to come in and ask that question and look at any of our records.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Commissioner Kessler?
I first want to thank the chamber and the short questions they've created. I'm running for county commissioner so I can continue to do the job that I've been doing over the past years, trying to keep your water safe, clean, your taxes as low as possible, and bring good jobs to our Wakulla County. I testified before the DEP, I testified before the Environmental Regulatory Commission, trying to keep your water clean, and I will continue to do so. I was the one that brought awareness to the board of the dangers of fracking that were posed to our county, and the pipe that they want to put in the mouth of the Thin Holloway River into our Gulf from Perry. So I've always been readily accessible. I've been responsive to all citizens. I am independent, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schuff?
I want to thank you all for attending tonight and for caring about the future of our county. Over the last 4 years, our commission has done a pretty good job of repairing our finances, so I think it's time to give our people a tax cut. One of the reasons I got into this race was because of my involvement in economic development. I'd love to see small businesses grow in our county, and want to do everything I can. I was successful in running my own small business for 34 years, and I'd like to see other younger people do the same and create jobs for our kids and our grandchildren. Property rights is also a very important item to me, but property rights gets a little bad name, but I think that property rights and sustainable economic development are not mutually exclusive items. They can be, you can do good with both of them. I do think we need to increase our emphasis on what the money that we spend on our children and our park facilities. We are going to have a lot of challenges in the future. We need good clear vision.
Time is up, sir. Sorry.
Anyway, Commissioner John Schuff.
My name is Ralph Thomas. I want you all to know tonight that this process is not about me. It's not about any of us. It's about each one of you. We're asking you to allow us to serve you. We're asking you to allow us to be your representative. What you think in your voice is much more important than any of us can tell you here tonight. It's important for us to listen. I started serving our country when I was 18 years old in the United States Navy. I was elected to this position in 2012. I hit the ground running. I took 7 committees from the very beginning, not because I had excess time, because I thought your voice was important. When I go to the state, when I go to the federal level, when I'm on these committees with the Florida Association of Counties, the Small County Coalition, Florida Association of Counties Trust, I want to make sure they know where Wakulla is, what our needs are, and we've got someone at the table that's representing what's important to you. And I want to continue doing that. I humbly ask for your vote on November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of the Wakulla County Chamber of Commerce, will y'all please join me in thanking our candidates. And we also wanted to extend our thanks to the citizens of Wakulla County for submitting the questions and for being here tonight. Let me get on my list. The Chamber Board, Joanne, who was not able to be here, Dustin, Mary, Chuck, Bill, Tammy, thank all of you. Wakulla Environmental Institute, thank you, Bob, for having us tonight. Beautiful, beautiful facility. Refreshments were provided by Keep Wakulla County Beautiful, and Sarah Wallace, Mary's daughter, made the cookies, so thank you. Thank you again for being here tonight, and please go vote on November 8th. Thank you.